independent demonstrator with Stamping Up here in New South Wales, Australia. Now, just let me mute my phone just in case anyone tries to contact me, and we'll pop that away over there for the moment. Okay, as I said, thank you very much for joining me. I'm just going to take a quick drink here. Sorry, I've just got a bit of a croaky voice this morning. Okay, this morning we're going to be looking at a few different elements, interactive elements that we can add to our 6x8 album. And I want to add a few of these. I want to add them as title pages. I want to add them as, well, title pages, dividers between sections, but I also want to add some pocket pages, pages where I don't necessarily going to put photos, or I'm not necessarily going to put photos on that I mean to keep for longevity, okay? When you put photos into a photo protector, you're protecting them for a long period of time. I mean, I would love these to stay for a long period of time, but there's just a little bit of an added interest about me, and there are other ways that I can use flip flaps and all sorts of things to pop those into if I wanted to. But if I wanted to pop in notes, recipes, general information, lists about myself, then you can do that on pocket pages. So first off, we're going to do is we're going to create a pocket page. I've already done my calculations. I've already done my die cutting just so then we can keep this fairly condensed, because I've also got a few other ideas that have been playing around in my head, and I thought, well, why not today? Let's share it and let's see what we come up with. So let me flip my camera down. Of course, please jump on, say hello, let me know you're watching, yeah, let's get started. Okay, so as you can see here, I've been writing up lots of notes, and what I've firstly done is I've taken a page protector. I've just got a piece of white cardstock in there just so then you can easily see it, and I've taken the measurements of my page protector. Now, we know it's a 6x8 album, but that's actually the page of the piece that goes in. Just let me just zoom this out just a little bit. There we go. Just so you can see a bit more of what I'm talking about. So my piece that I'm popping inside my page protector is 6x8, and that's in inches. The actual page protector itself is 6 5/8 by 8 1/4. So it's 8 1/4 inches in height, and it's 6 5/8 of an inch in width. Now, centimetres, that's in 17.5 centimetres by 21 centimetres in length. So I'm probably going to revert back here into centimetres, just for the fact that I have actually worked this all out in centimetres. So that's including, that's 17.5 centimetres, or 6 5/8 is including this piece here. Okay, so this is our hinge piece. This is what fits in to the rings in our binder. So we need to take that into account when we're going to make a pocket page. Now, of course, you could decorate a page, pop a pocket in and slip it into here and put a cut across here, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted this to be a little bit more interactive. So what I've done, I'm going to move this all to one side. I've taken my measurements, as you can see here. So I've got my 17.5 centimetres, which is the actual size of the page protector itself in width, and I'm adding an extra 1.5 centimetres. And the reason why I've added an extra 1.5 centimetres into my width there is I want to double fold this piece here, so I've got a lot of strength in this hinge piece. So I've added an extra 1.5 centimetres to my 17.5 centimetres. And so I've cut a piece of cardstock, which is is this piece here. Now I'm cutting this in, is it Costa Cabana? I'm trying to remember. Let me have a look at my designer series paper and it will tell me, because I based my colours off this, and I just wanted also some brightness in it. Yep, Coastal Cabana. So that's the designer series paper. This colour is my cardstock. Okay, so this piece here measures my 21, basically measures 20 by 19 centimetres, okay? So my 19 centimetres is my width and my 21, and I've already scored that there on one side. I actually scored on the bottom as well by mistake, but I've scored it on one side here at 1.5 centimetres. So I'm just going to give that a good fold, and I'm going to add some tape down through there, and I'm just going to use my tape runner for this, but I just want to add some tape down here, and this is what I'm going to put my holes in to form that hinge. So that's going to be the hinged part of my page. So what I might do while I've got this, so we know that that's my hinge part, I'm going to pop that on top, and I'm going to grab a pencil, and I'm going to mark where I want those eyelets to go, the eyes for this. So they're going to go there, and I'm just tracing around those circles there. So that's going to be the size I want of my holes. So I've got my hole punch here, and I want to use my largest size, and I'm going to punch 2 holes in each section. So because that is not a circle, it's more of a rectangle, so I'm going to punch one there, and I'm then going to punch another one. I mustn't tap that too hard because I am tapping that onto glass. Another one there, and that's going to give me, and I'm going to get a craft knife later on, or actually I might be able to even do it with this. Pop that in the middle. So cut out 3 holes on each one, just to take away that little bit of. So there we go. So we're going to do that in both, and I'll just get a pair of scissors later on or a craft knife and tidy that up. So we're going to do that in this one as well. Need to get that little piece out so I can see where I'm lining it up. And then we'll just do a third one in the middle just to get rid of those little peaks. And as I said, you can just grab a pair of scissors and just probably a craft knife might be easier because I've got double thickness there. So I might just see if I can just do it one more time with this. I want to keep it as tight as I possibly can. Now you can put, if you wanted to, if you're really concerned about the strength of your cardstock that you're using, you can put another piece on the other side of that as well. But I think since I'm using solid cardstock, that should be fine. But if I was going to use designer series paper or something, then I might want a bit extra strength in there. So that's now our base for our pocket page. So now my pocket is going to fit inside this section here, and what I decided to go was 15 centimetres up on the side, and I've got 16 centimetres here in the middle. So I've already pre-cut that, and I've added an extra 1 centimetre on either side and 1 centimetre on the bottom. So that then is going to measure 22 centimetres on that side. No, sorry, that is going to measure 16 centimetres on that side because I've only gone 15 centimetres up. So 15 plus my extra 1 at the bottom. and the width of this is now 18 centimetres. So it's my 16 centimetres plus an extra centimetre either side, and that's going to create our folds for us. So what I'm going to do is grab my paper snips again, and I'm just going to cut those corners off in an angle. Now, just something I just didn't think of doing until now, which I am going to show you what I do. If you use tear and tape, which is what I generally like for this, because I've cut that in an angle already, I can only take that tear and tape. I'm going to miss that little corner there unless I want to take it all the way down and trim it. Now, I want to pop this tear and tape as close as possible to that scored line. And I'll show you what I do over here, because I haven't cut these corners. If I take my tear and tape right along down that score line there and go right to the end, then I'm going to do the same on this side. So I'm going to go from end to end, just seeing where that score line is there. Once I've done that, now I can cut it at an angle. And that's just going to make that corner quite nice and tidy, rather than like what I've got here on this side. Now I'm going to fold along my score lines and fold all those edges in and burnish that well with my bone folder. Now we may need to trim those angles a little bit more. It just depends on how, we don't want them to overlap there in the corner. And as you can see, I don't know whether you can see it, but when I fold this down, it's just a little bit out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm just going to fold. So it just means that when these two are folded across each other, they're just slightly overlapping. I want that to be as smooth as possible. So what I'm going to do is just take out another tiny little wedge either side. So it's not at a 45-degree angle. It's a little bit more than that. And I'm just going to do that to this side here as well. So I'm just going to take a little bit more out, just so then those edges will fit nicely. And we're going to fold this one as well. Burnish that one, making sure that we've got enough of an angle out there, and same there. And then we're going to have a look at these. That one there, because I've cut that at an angle there, is going to fold, and you're not going to see anything coming up the top here. But this one here, you're going to have that bit of angle there, and we don't want that showing. So I'm going to trim that actually down like that, but then I'm going to take that a little bit more as like just like that. So when all of that folds back and we attach that onto our page, they're all going to be very neatly hidden away. So that I'm just going to have to give this a bit more of a burnish here. Make sure that they are sitting down. Now that's going to sit on my page. And I've made, this is where you figure out where you've made a little bit of, I've probably gone over my edge a little bit, but I'm not going to worry about that. And this here corner is not quite sitting as well as I'd like, so I'm just going to angle that a little bit more. Just cut a little bit more off that. Just want those corners just to sit nice and tight. So I probably could have trimmed my flange piece there a little bit more, but that's okay because it's all in the same colour, so you're not going to really see it. And I don't really want to lose too much of the width of my pocket because I'm going to be sticking a fair bit into there probably eventually. Hello, Nicole. How are you? Thank you for jumping on. So the next thing we're going to do is I've got some designer series paper here, and of course I've pulled this out of my stash. And my designer series paper here, I've got one piece here because this is all going to be about my sewing, my embroidery, and things like that. The craft that I do. And I think I've chosen my title for this page is going to be Creative Me. Just had words written all over this of what I was looking up. So I've cut this piece here at, let me just have a look. I've cut this piece here just fractionally smaller, so I've cut it by about 14.5 centimetres by 15.5, and the shorter angle here is at 9.5. So, and that is just going to be that little bit smaller of my pocket, just so that fits into there. So let's glue that part down. Pop that out of the road so I don't get any glue on that. So let me grab my glue here. I want to get that glue as close as I can without it oozing to that edge, because I don't want that edge lifting, because there won't be a protector on top of it to make sure. And we're going to place that in the centre there, as straight as we possibly can. So that's the first part of our pocket. Now with our page, I also want to pop some cardstock on here. So this piece here is cut at 15.5, and it was just a leftover piece at 13.5, because what I want to do is pop that onto there again, and that's butting up to this piece here, my cut line there. So that'll help hide where I've folded my hinge part over to give it the extra strength. And then this pocket is going to go over the top. So it has to be deep enough on one side where you've got your shorter side to be able to hide. You don't want to have that poking through like that. So you want to have this side here long enough. Now this angle piece, I've put my angle piece going that way, with my tallest side on my right hand side and my shortest on my left. You could have it the angled the other way, and I was sort of even up to this morning thinking, should I have angled it the other way? But I haven't planned this album out overly well, okay? I'm saying that in the fact that I haven't gone through and haven't designated, okay, these are the pages I'm going to do, these are the page protectors I'm going to use, and this is the order they're going to go in. So at the moment, I'm not quite sure what order this is going to be. I just know that this is if it was a 2-page spread, this is the one that's going to be on my right-hand side. So if I have a pocket page or something over here, I can slip in photos if I wanted to that relate back to this, so they're facing into each other. If you designed this album that there's no relationship between your right and your left-hand pockets, then possibly you could have your pocket going in the opposite direction, so it's going away from it. It's really up to you. You could also do a pocket that's straight across there. You could do a pocket where the pocket comes, your pocket is running down and you're putting your items going in from the side. With doing it from the side, you've got to be very careful. You could end up with things falling out. You could do it where you've got like an envelope fold on this side. So you can make this a bit wider and fold it in and then put things inside and tie it off with a magnet or with cardstock buttons that you wrap thread around to hold it all closed. If you've got things in there that you don't want to fall out or get lost. So it's really thinking about this, and I haven't really overthought this. I'm just working through this bit by bit, and it is causing hassles doing that because I've really then got to think, okay, I've put a pocket page there, what photos I was planning to do this on the next page, but is my photos going to suit? So I work by the seat of my pants, and not everybody does. Yes, you do have to pick a pocket or two. Very, very true. And these particular pages here about being creative now, I'm thinking of doing another page with a pocket on the back of this about cooking. But you've just made me think there, Nicole, because I did a bit of photography once for quite a few years actually, for the local theatre company. And one of the ones that I did some photos for was actually Oliver, and my son was in it. So, yes, you can pick a pocket or two. I totally agree with that. So I could do even a page on, because I have got hundreds of photos that I took of, I did about half a dozen different musical photos for them, for their musical programs, sort of from Oliver to South Pacific to, I even was in one of their musicals. So, and that was Beauty and the Beast, and I did photos as well when I wasn't actually on stage performing. So, it's, there's lots of things you can put into these albums, and that's just, you've just opened up a whole new page for me. But, okay, so I've just glued that down. And that's nice and glued in as straight as it's going to be. So let's just hope that everything here all lines up. So what I do when I'm doing something like this, and I want to make sure everything lines up, I don't peel off all my adhesive. So I'm only going to peel off a little bit at a time. Oops, and I want it to fold outwards and not inwards, and that will just make it a lot easier. And I'm just creasing the backing there with those tag pieces coming out, and that will just mean that these aren't completely stuck down. If I make a mistake, I can hopefully try to lift them up again. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with this short side first. No, actually I'm not. I'm going to start with this longer side first because that's going to butt over. So I'm going to pop this right onto the edge of my cardstock there, folding this gently all the way down to meet that edge there. So far I've only really stuck this corner and that corner, and then folding that up. So now I'm just going to gently pull each one of these away. Don't get too rough, because I have done this where I have pulled these away and they have ripped on me. And then it's a matter of getting something in there to be able to catch that piece of adhesive backing to be able to pull the rest of it off. Just get rid of my rubbish there as we go. So there we are. So that is going to be how you can create a pocket. So what I'm planning to do is I'm planning to make notes on all the different things that I've done. You make your albums blank, complete with flip-flaps and what's nots, and then you can just find the papers to coordinate. Yeah, That's probably the best way to do it, Nicole. I don't work the best way. I know I'm not worrying about a colour scheme throughout my whole album. My favourite colours is blue, so you're going to see a lot of blues happening in here. So far, I've used a bit of hot pinks. I just want this to be, each of these pages to be relevant to what I'm doing. And I really love this paper, and I've been holding it in my stash, and that's what this is all about, is getting rid of some of our stash. So I'm going to pop that onto there, and I'm going to have this colour because that's one of the best colours that go through here, and plus it is a greeny blue as well. So I'm not worrying about that. I'm just going by the seat of my pants. But in there I probably will do pick up some of these other lighter colours in here to make tags to pop in there. And in my tags I'm going to have things on there, like I might put a list in here about when I started studying fashion, when I finished school. I've got found a photo today of an embroidery that I've done when I did for my year 10 at school. So I can do a bit of a write-up on it because it was Spanish black work. So I'm going to pop that in there. I'm going to talk about how I did an embroidery course at TAFE and did 2 years of that, and I've got a beautiful image of my seahorse that I've embroidered that I'm going to pop into here. I also, when I moved down here to the Southern Highlands, I joined the Embroiderers Guild. So I did a couple of years at the Embroiderers Guild. So I've got lots of memories, and my husband and I were just talking about that this morning because I'm thinking about rejoining. There's one locally here in Mossvale. But most of the people I knew back then may not even be with us anymore. So there's lots of memories from that I can put in here, different things that I learned while I was in the Embroiderers Guild, the fact that I'm still doing sewing, the fact that I'm working on a quilt, pictures of my quilt as I'm working on it, to pictures of my quilt once it's finished. There's all sorts of things that I can add into here. But I want to just quickly decorate this. So let's just keep going. So what I have done in my little stash here, I have die cut myself a circle out of willow white. Now it's only partial because I am going to cut that down a bit. I do want to have that cut off. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm not too worried about where I'm going to cut it, but I think I'm going to cut it about there. So I'm just going to use my little paper trimmer, and that can go at about that point there. I've also got, and I've just realised I've very carefully put all these little letters and everything over here, and I've just splattered them all over the place. So all I can find now is my E. Oh no, there's some more over there. I've also got a piece of willow white here, which I'm going to pop across there as well. And I've got, with this paper here, it came with lots of ephemera. So I'm going to go through this ephemera and pop that on here. But as you're saying, Nicole, there's so many ways you can create one of these albums. I probably, if I was to do this again, I'd probably plan it out a little bit more than what I've done now. I will say a lot of this happens in my head. A lot of this is stuff that I dream about. I sort of go to sleep and then wake up in the morning and went, yes, that's how I'm going to do that. But anyway, so let's just keep going. So I'm going to trim this down, this piece of willow white strip here. I'm going to also trim that down to the width of my DSP there. And I've just pencil marked that in. And I have gone through, pour all that down there. I have gone through my mini alphabet dies. What I sometimes tend to do, and I made a couple more of these this morning, is I will take some whatever colour I'm wanting to use. I pop some adhesive on the back of it, and then I die cut out because that will die cut all those letters. So I've die cut all those letters out. I've got them there in black. I've got stacks of other colours and papers there, and then I know that black is what I want to do my title in, so I've pulled out all the letters for this. You did black work stitching. Only I used yellow thread on red to make a tablecloth. Only who uses tablecloths these days? My daughter doesn't even know what one is. Yeah, it's a bit like that, Nicole. My Spanish black work is on cream on black or black on cream, but I have also got a piece lying around the house somewhere, which is it's white linen, and I did this black work using a variegated, actually it was these colours, this Coastal Cabana and blues. As I said, blue is my favourite colour, so it was those colours, so different shades, so it's variegated, so different shades of greens going into blues. So I'm just putting here, Creative Me. There's the E. So this is just going to form a little bit of a title page for me. Now I'm just going, I won't be doing a live next week as talking about embroidery and this sort of thing. I'm actually going to be on an embroidery retreat. So it'll be on next Friday, Saturday and Sunday. I do it every year. Now this is a product I've got, oh God, I hate to think how old this is. This is from Creative Memories. And it was called Titletopia. Now, I did do a live once on how to create your own without having one of these, and so it's in my YouTube videos somewhere, and I used the backing sheet off your adhesive, and I used a piece of grid paper here, which is from your paper here, scratch paper, and I've laminated it both sides, so then I can use this. But I planned it and trimmed it down, so I've just got my top line there, if you can see that, is very close. It's only like each one of these squares is 0.5 centimetre, so that's 2.5 centimetres from the top. And the reason for that is so then when I peel off the backing of this, so I need to make sure I've got a cross on there so I know which is my slippery side. So when I pop that down, that underneath, that on top, there's my C. When I take the backings off, it's not going to adhere, or it shouldn't adhere to the backing sheet, fingers crossed. So I want to pop, and having a grid paper underneath really helps for also spacing out your letters. I don't want to have them too far apart. Hey, you have one too. You see, there's sometimes when they do create something that, hey, we just can't live without it. I love it when I'm wanting to do titles on curves. So I think they did one on straight and one on curves, and I've got both of them. I must admit, I do like the little mini paper trimmer as well. I think it's slightly bigger than the one that I've got here. Now, of course, you don't need to put these on a straight line if you don't want to, but because I'm going to put this onto a white strip, I want it to be as straight as I possibly can. Now, you do have to be very careful because I've only got like a 2.5 mil piece there that I'm adhering these down onto. They can very easily slip off. So, because they're only held on by a fraction. But I will say I am having a lot of fun creating this album because it doesn't take long, because I'm only putting, like a couple of photos on, on a page. Sometimes you're not doing a big 12 by 12 or 24 by 12. You are doing just little, 6 by 8s or 12 by 8s if you're doing a double page spread. You've got pocket pages that then make it a little bit easier again, because some of those you can just slip a photo into without having any matting or trim or journaling. But it is quite fun. So now once I've got that onto there, I just got to very gently remove this from the back. Because when I pop those down, I didn't want to press them down too hard, just in case, but I don't want them to come off this little bit of adhesive I've got there. So I'm happy with that. So now I can line these up where I want it on here. So I do want to go probably, let's bring this back in. So this is going to go about there, and I am going to put some elements onto there. That's going to go across there as well. And there may be some elements on there as well. So what I want to do is that actually coming across more this side. So I probably want that just about there. I think I've got that nice and straight. Just checking my letters there, making sure once you're happy, push all those down. And by having just a small bit underneath, what that enables me to do then is just hold my letters and just very gently pull this piece from underneath out. So I'm just sort of very gently, some of them are hanging on a little bit. I just want to slide that out from underneath. So that's not too bad. I probably might have that little bit crooked, but you know what? I don't mind that much. So that's going to go there like so. So let's just remove all of those, put those out of the road. So as I said, I do have a short video on YouTube about how I created that. If you're interested, I have got it a little bit at an angle, but that's okay. So let's just have a look here. So I'm going to pop this piece onto here, and I'm going to glue that down. And I'm going to pop that probably around about there. I spent so much time working out where I was going to cut this piece of designer series paper because I wanted that embroidery hoop to be showing. So it's there. And then this piece is going to go eventually across there like that. So let's just have a look what we've got in here. So we have got a dressmaker's form, so could put that in there because that is very relevant to me. We have got another embroidery hoop. There is also a sewing machine. I'm wondering if we have another colour in that, because that is going to be very light. And so let's have a quick look. What have we got through here? So we have got, I should separate all of these bits and pieces out into gardening and books, and we've got that one there, piece of like ribbon. We've got a flower, we could even use that. Don't think we need those pieces, because it came with 2 sheets of ephemera, so of course I don't need all of that, so we don't need that. Could possibly use that. Tea bags. Just pulling out quickly all the bits and pieces. That's like a biscuit. We don't need that. We don't need a coffee cup. We've got another sewing machine. Got plants. Another flower, just in case. Floss holder. We've got buttons. Don't know whether I've got another sewing machine. We've got a pin cushion here. Wait there, let me grab that pin cushion out. I think let's have a look and see what we can do with what we've got here. I know there are some hearts and other buttons and things like that. So we may not even use that. Green is very harsh against that. So we've got this here. That could go underneath there. We could put that onto there. I don't mind that. Yeah, there's some really great, if you wanted to fussy cut, you can fussy cut lots of great elements in that as well. So we've got a sewing machine. The sewing machine is over there. So I'm wondering whether I might leave that out. Pop that there for the moment. We've got that. We could probably pop that into there like so. And I do want to pop maybe a couple of these flowers in there as well. So, okay, I've got a bit of an idea of what we're going to do. So I'm going to I'm just going to adhere this straight down, I think. Don't want to have too much bulk. If you put too much bulk in these albums, then they're not going to close too much. So that's where another thing, you need to be wary of what you're putting in your pockets, because you don't want to bulk it up too much. Probably be a little bit fussy and creative. Just going to pop that there. I like this. So this is going to go across the bottom. And I don't mind the fact that it doesn't go all the way, but also picks up on the scallop of the of my base piece there. I'm going to pop the embroidery form on. Just got to try to remember, you want to adhere this down as much as you possibly can, because you don't want these to be, because they're not going to be in a page protector, so you don't want them to be able to be bent and so forth too much. So they can go there. I'm not going to use that. I do want to use that, but I need to lift that up a bit more, I think, to pop that in underneath, but that will work. So I want to have some of these going under and over a little bit. Pop that there. I might even just trim this out a little bit tighter. So I'm just trimming away roughly some of that excess on the flowers. So just giving this a little bit of quick fussy cutting. Taking away that white edge. Now also too, remember if you're going to add bling onto this page, then you want to make sure it's well and truly secured, because again, you've got no page protector to help hold it into place. So just making sure all that glue is spread around. And also don't want to have too much that's going to ooze. And I think I'm going to pop that down here. Also got going to just trim away a little bit at the bottom of this. I'm not going to trim away at the top because I want those pins to be showing. I want that just to sit there, or maybe, yep, I think that's probably a better spot. I'm just going to tuck it in underneath that flower. Just got to keep remembering to spread my glue. Got a button there. I'm wondering if I can quickly find a couple of more little pieces. There's something right here at the end, right at the bottom of my bag. I like these little hearts that can go in, I think. There, let me just grab these buttons first because I've got 3 of them here. And I want to pop a heart in there as well. And I think I'm going to have to see if I can find another heart like that one. I do have this little V piece one here, but I sort of feel like I want another one like that. And there would be another one. Oh, excuse me. Let me just grab my drink. Oh, well, at least you're well loved there, Nicole. Okay, let's just see if I can very quickly find another button. I don't want that. No. I will have a look through there later on, and I'll probably pop another heart onto there. So I'm just going to very quickly pop these into here because I really want to show you a couple of other ideas that I have for pages, and I won't be finishing them off today because I've still got to work out how they are going to work. As I said, I sort of go to bed at night dreaming about these things and then sort of come back and think, oh yeah, okay, in the morning that's what I can do. But anyway, that's a great pocket page. I am going to make another pocket on the back to go on the back here, or you could just cover that up with designer series paper, whatever. But I sort of thought with this paper here, there is also another one on cooking, and I want to do another pocket, maybe a different style of pocket that's going to go on the back here, which is going to be all relative to cooking and recipes and things like that, because that's still about me being creative. But this is going to end up having lots of other information in there about all the stuff that I've created. So let me pop that to one side and let me bring in and show you quickly some of the other ideas that I have. So this is something I've started on ages ago, and this is where a lot of this has come from. When our large banner dies and letters came out, I saw a display done by, I think, oh golly, I can't think of the lady's name now. Oh, isn't this terrible? She was only on my Facebook Live yesterday. Anyway, she had done, and I'll come up with the name later. This is going to bug me. Let me have a look and see if I can find her name, because this is just terrible. It's on the tip of my tongue, you know, when you sort of, you know something is, and it's just there, but do you think you can spit it out? Let me go through to yesterday's live, and it's not going to tell me straight up who made comments. I will find her name later. But she did an album using this, and it gave me an idea that I wanted to do this album. So I've been thinking about doing this for a couple of years and using these dies to create pages within my album. So I've decided to create a title page. So I cut this out ages ago. Now what I've done to get this, I've cut this at the largest banner. I've cut two of them, and I've cut them out of the thick basic white. So it's not quite the same colour as my willow white, but I'm sort of figure for what I'm doing, it'll be fine. As I said before, and I've mentioned it a few times, blue is my favourite colour. And when I do the cover of this album, I am going to be using these papers left over from some papers we had a couple of years ago, because I really love them. They're all in the blue and white. But I want to do a title page at the beginning of my album. So this is going to be part of my title page. So as I said, I've cut two of these in the thick basic white, and I've glued them together. Then all I've done is cut the next size down, and that is going to be then adhered on top. I bought this paper not for the oranges and lemons. but I bought it for the blues. I really love it. It's terrible. When I used to work, and I've said this probably quite a few times, but when I used to work in retail and we used to have reps coming in showing us all the new fabrics, I'd pull out all the fabrics I like, and my boss used to always say, Michelle, nearly every single one of them is predominantly blue and white. So I'm going to pop that onto there, move it along to where I want it to be positioned, and that is going to form my title page. So then I'm going to, now I haven't got the right letters here, I've just pulled out some letters for something else, but I'm going to cut out, using the large letters, a title to go on here, something like who am I, or this is who I am. At the moment I've got the word love, so you could easily do LOVE, put love on there if you were doing a title page in a section about love. Cut that out in either Night of Navy or white. I would probably then on the back maybe even do the same paper again and cut out my holes the same as what I did before. And that, if I bring my album over, actually we might even just cut those holes out now so you can see what I'm going to do. So I've got my holes here, I've got my paper here. Actually, I probably should do it once I've got all the backing on there as well, which is what I might do. I'll pencil them out now so we can see where they're going to be. But there's one's going to be there, and the other one is going to be here. But the same as what I did before on this page, I'm going to then cut that out. So when I've got my album, this page here is going to go right at the front. So on my first one, this is me, and on here I'm looking at putting who am I, because this book is going to be all about me. So by the time that goes in, that will then actually work out to fit in here. I wasn't even looking at taking this that way, which is another way you can do it. You could put your holes here and that would go across to there like that. So you could work this then whatever way, but it makes a great divide. Okay, so then we've also got this page here, which is going to go around about there in my album. So as you can see, it's the same size as now as the rest of them. So that's going to go there. That one is going to go there, unless I decide now to change it and go that way. I was sort of thinking if it goes across there, you've sort of got a little bit of this poking out and you've got a bit of the blues there as well. You've got to think what's going to be behind it and make sure that it's all going to work within what you've got. So that's one idea. Another page divider you could create, and this one is the one I'm still sort of playing with. I've cut a piece of vellum, and I've cut my vellum here at 6 3/4 by 8 1/4, which is in centimetres is 17.5 by your 21. Okay, so again, allowing for my holes to go on my hinge at the side. But the problem with this vellum, if I just use that as my page, that is going to rip very easily. So what I've done is I've cut myself a piece of basic white, and I'm going to adhere that down. So just doing the same as what I've done before, I'm going to pop a piece of tear and tape down through there. Now I'm going to actually put quite a bit of this on, and I've cut this at, or you could use 1.5 centimetres in centimetres. I think I actually did it at 5/8 by 2. So this is 3 centimetres wide, say, and then scored at 1.5, or 1 1/4 cut and scored down the middle at 5/8. And this is going to strengthen, again, my hinged area. So I just want to make sure all of that is down, and then I'm going to... Now, I did have all sorts of ideas. So this is where the word love came in, but it's not going to work. So I'm just going to adhere that onto that side there. I was thinking of putting the word love across here, and this was going to go in between the pages that I was going to put with the wedding photo. But as you can see, the word love doesn't fit. And I was actually going to die cut that out so I'd have holes, but there was going to be issues. There was going to be issues where if I cut that out, I wouldn't have a circle in the middle. I'd just have a round hole. I'd have this little V piece here would be a point that could get caught on things. So I'm having to rethink how I'm going to decorate this page. I still want to do something on here. If I was going to, I'm not going to fold this over, but if I was going to die cut into here, then I couldn't have I'd have to do that before I put this piece on. And that's why I'm not finishing this off, because I'm not quite sure yet how I'm going to decorate this. If I put, because being vellum and you can see through it, if I put something onto here, then I've got to have something on the back of it to hide the back. Okay, so you've got to think these things through a little bit. At the moment, I'm sort of thinking of cutting these out and making the word love, but having them maybe somehow overlapping a little bit, so cutting them out in a cardstock and having them overlap, but I'd have to cut out 2 in each one, and cut it reversed so I could have the reverse on the back. And then you want to make sure you've got a little bit of space to add some weight. But to do this, I'm going to have to grab my photo and pop my photo underneath and see what this is going to look like, because I'm sort of thinking this is where you sort of got to plan a little bit, which is something I'm not doing. But you've got to think a little bit what's going to go underneath, what are you going to have showing. So this is just a page protected with that white cardstock in there. So what am I going to have showing? What am I going to be covering up? You know, how's my photos going to look? Am I going to do one photo, the 6x8, with that over the top, which could look quite effective? So I'm still yet to work this one out, but it's just another idea of what you can do to create a break or a title in your page. Now, something else I saw too recently, which I thought was a fantastic idea. So let me just pop those to there. But that's something I'm still working on. But I will, when I've finished it, worked it out, finished it, I will show you. Something I saw on Pinterest when I was doing a bit of research for this is with if you've got a lot of journaling, because on your pocket pages, you don't necessarily have a lot of area for journaling. Okay, so here I've just got this little bit here. Now I could have put a lot of journaling on this side. I could have put a lot of journaling here. I could have created a flip flap and done journaling there. There's ways around it. Another idea that I have seen is, and I thought this was great, is if you've got lots of photos and you don't have room for journaling, I'm not going to glue this together because I am going to do this, but I've cut myself a piece of white willow cardstock here. It's 10 by 19. I'm going to do some journaling all in here. I've got 2 sides I can do journaling on, so I can write quite an extensive story. I've cut myself a hinge, same as before. I've cut it 3 centimetres, scored at 1.5, and the same as before, I can attach that at either on the edge, and that will become So by the time I've done that, my journaling is going to come in from 10 centimetres. I'm going to lose that 1.5 to 2 centimetres here. But that's going to give you another piece, and it's not a full-size piece, so you don't have to feel you've got to write a whole huge big story. You can even add a photo in here if you wanted to, but it's just another way of adding a break or an interactive piece into your album, especially if you've got a story and that you want to do. So that's just a few different ideas. So we've got a vellum page, we've got a willow white page where we can do some journaling. We have started work today on a page that we can use for titles. And of course, if I grab this back out of here again, we have got a pocket page. So I've got lots of things here that I'm going to continue working on today. And hopefully in a couple of weeks when I'm back, I'll have some of these finished and in place so you can see what else you can do. Now, just a reminder, I am not going to be here next week. I will be away embroidering, being creative, with some lovely people at a retreat that I'm going to. And I will tell you all about that when I get back, and hopefully have lots of photos that I can even tuck into here. So have a lovely day. Thank you very much for joining me today. Nicole, I hope you've enjoyed your coffee, and I hope that fur bundle is keeping you nice and warm. And we will catch up with you later, and I will find the name. I can even see her face in my head, but do you think I can pull the name out at the moment? I've even found her picture of her. Actually, I will bring that up. Oh, excuse me. When I was going through my phone this morning looking for photos or inspiration, I found the photo of her album that she created. And it is here somewhere. Oh, excuse me. Time for some cough mixture. I'm sure it wasn't this far back. There it is. So she created an album using these particular tags, and you can see how she split the word Brisbane in two, Brisbane on stage, and I thought that was a fantastic idea. So, yeah, I'm going to be using that for my title. No, this is where my title is sort of stemming from. So get creative, work on your album. If you have any images or anything you want to share, please send them to me and we can pop them up on my blog or my Facebook page. But I'd love to know your thoughts, your ideas. You might even find another way to make an interactive section to your album, and I'd love to hear about it. So thank you very much, Nicole, for joining me, and anybody else who was on here watching today, or those who might be watching over the next few weeks. Thank you very much. I do appreciate everyone who jumps on or who lets me know that they are watching. So take care, have a lovely day, and keep creating, and I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks' time. Bye for now.